Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. We got a busy day to wrap up this week. Welcome in on this Friday edition. Hulk Hogan was a larger-than-life personality who rose to great heights in sports entertainment and parlayed a successful career in the ring into an iconic one outside of the ring. Mr. Hogan died after suffering a possible cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida, yesterday. Former White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain dropped a bit of a bombshell, this before the House Oversight Committee yesterday, by saying out loud what the Biden inner circle has refused to admit. We have the details on that testimony. A Mediterranean town in Algeria is at the center of controversy after its mayor tried to enforce modesty standards by banning men from wearing Bermuda shorts. Can a business refuse to accept cash? Evidently, cash is not always king anymore. We'll take a look at the new trend of not allowing cash payments. And South Carolina Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett checks in with us about the SC-7 expedition and how the Palmetto State law enforcement is helping ICE enforce immigration laws. There's a lot to cover today, so let's get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Former White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain dropped a bit of a bombshell before the House Oversight Committee, revealing that during Joe Biden's last year in office, key figures like National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and even former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton did not think Mr. Biden was politically viable. Klain was part of what some have referred to as sort of a Biden Politburo, a small core group managing affairs as concerns grew over the president's clarity, his stamina, and whether he had the ability to make decisions. Now, Klain defended Biden, saying that he wasn't incapable of governing or too old to run again in 2024. Still, he didn't shy away from describing a less energetic president whose memory was slipping, mixing up names, and showing signs of mental fatigue. He noted that Sullivan told him that Biden was less effective in 2024 compared to 2022. In an interesting aside, Klain revealed he donated $5,000 to Hunter Biden's legal defense fund after being asked by Hunter's attorney, a personal detail not lost on the committee. Chairman James Comer said evidence emerges on a daily basis that would suggest Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit to be president, pointing to claims that Biden was on mind-altering sleeping pills before his disastrous debate performance against Trump. That, according to his son, Hunter, who's claimed this week that his dad had taken some Ambien prior to the debate last year. Klain said he didn't know how Biden was, whether or not he was taking Ambien at the time, something, again, that Hunter Biden has confirmed. Unlike several former aides who have invoked the Fifth Amendment, Klain answered all questions, did not claim privilege. Representative Ro Khanna described him as very credible and fully cooperative. Representative Andy Biggs added he's saying the things I kind of expected him to say. But not everyone in the Biden orbit was thrilled. A former official shrugged that Klain was classic, always yapping, while others noted he'd been comfortable speaking off the record in books like Chris Whipple's Uncharted. Klain's loyalty to Biden has been public, and very emotional at times. He famously teared up when leaving the job in February of 2023, saying he learned how to be a good father from President Joe Biden. Still, you got to imagine tension simmered when Klain's candid comments to book authors became very public. He reportedly apologized to Biden and later tried to call again, though it's unclear if Joe Biden answered that last call. In Uncharted, Klain recalled a prep session at Camp David, this, of course, before the Trump debate, where President Biden, extremely exhausted, seemed disengaged. Klain even thought that Biden might have confused his role, wondering if Biden thought he was president of NATO. Wow. That sentiment echoed in Original Sin, where authors Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson quoted unnamed officials describing a White House run by a tight inner circle, Klain included, making major decisions without consulting Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. And in 2024, how Trump retook the White House and the Democrats lost America, Klain reportedly said privately, "We're effed," after Biden's shaky June debate. Other senior Biden aides like Annie Tomasini, Anthony Bernal, Dr. Kevin O'Connor have all either pleaded the fifth or been subpoenaed amid this probe into Biden's mental decline and possible misuse of the AutoPen signature machine. Next up, the committee plans to summons 4 more insiders. That includes Jeff Zients, Biden's last chief of staff, who's at the center of scrutiny for approving the last-minute AutoPen pardons. It's going to be interesting to see if Mr. Zients will speak, if he'll answer the questions, or if he's going to plead the fifth as well. All of this is part, of course, of a broader Republican-led push to uncover whether Joe Biden was physically and or mentally fit in office and whether aides were quietly running the administration, which we suspect they were. Klain's testimony, open and unreserved, adds weight to concerns that, of course, have been simmering beneath the surface for some time. It kind of confirms what we have thought all along, that Joe Biden did not have a clue where he was, what he was doing, and that his senior staff were, in fact, running the country. Speaker Mike Johnson isn't letting the Epstein flap die down. He's made it very clear on CBS's The Takeout with Major Garrett that this isn't some hoax. If anything, he says it's the opposite. He said, we want full transparency. We want everybody involved in any way with the Epstein evils to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. He's insisting lawmakers should bring the full weight of the law to bear on anyone connected to the late child predator. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that is a quote. Now, this is getting kind of interesting because at one point, just recently, when President Trump seemed to suggest that we just needed to move on from this, I wasn't sure this was going anywhere. And quite honestly, it changes from day to day. But right now, based on the speaker's comments, I don't think this issue is going anywhere. A July 6th DOJ and FBI memo declared Epstein almost certainly committed suicide and found no incriminating client list of powerful individuals. That just really turned this thing upside down. That memo, it flipped the MAGA world upside down with a lot of backlash because we've all been conditioned, we've all been expecting a client list that names some very powerful people. Even Speaker Johnson admitted he's never seen the full evidence. He said it wasn't in my lane, but he's sounding the alarm alongside everyone else, saying that more answers are needed and that need to be answered quickly. In a twist to this whole thing, the House Rules Committee, where most legislation gets greenlit, was forced to adjourn early after some GOP members sided with Democrats in pushing for public disclosure of the Epstein files. Speaker Johnson followed suit, sending Congress off early for August recess on a note of tension, one day ahead of schedule, because the floor became gridlocked thanks to the Epstein pressure cooker. It's kind of like he wanted to send them home, let them simmer down, let them cool off, and maybe come back in early September and move forward. President Trump, meanwhile, has expressed frustration with those who dismiss the situation as a hoax. Johnson sided with the president, condemning any attempts to just bury the story. The speaker didn't mince words. He said he wants to see names and move swiftly on indictments where they are warranted. When lawmakers come back from recess on September the 2nd, they got the whole month of August off, we can expect fireworks. Republican Representative Thomas Massey and Democrat Ro Khanna are spearheading what is called a discharge petition to force a vote on releasing those documents without waiting for the Speaker's blessing. Now, that could literally blow the lid off. That could cause even more chaos than what we've already seen. Now, in the meantime, President Trump has indicated that he supports releasing grand jury testimonies involving Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It doesn't end there, though. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just met with Maxwell and her legal team in Tallahassee, and the House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Maxwell to appear, reportedly scheduled for August the 11th. I don't know how that works if they're not going to be working in August. This again, straight out of a political thriller. This excitement. DOJ memo, the GOP civil war of congressmen led push to expose hidden files and looming subpoena showdown. The Speaker may not have the documents in hand. It goes on and on and on. But we'll get there eventually, I'm convinced. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. My mom called the other day and had been in a business that refused to take her cash. She couldn't believe it, that a business actually would not take cash. Fortunately, Nana Hudson had a check, was able to make the purchase. But that's not always the case with some people. Some people don't have checking accounts. Some people don't have credit cards. In her mind, my mom believes that it should be illegal for a business to not accept cash. And that raises a good question. Can businesses refuse cash? Well, here's what the law says. And, of course, we all know in today's world, swiping a card or tapping a phone is second nature. Digital payments are fast, they're convenient, and they're increasingly common. But as more businesses go cashless, a natural question arises, can they legally refuse your cash? Well, you do a little digging, and here's what you find. Under federal law, U.S. coins and currency or legal tender. That means that they must be accepted for paying debt, taxes, public dues. But here's the key point. The federal government doesn't require private businesses to accept cash. According to the Federal Reserve, quote, private businesses are free to develop their own policies on whether to accept cash unless there's a state law that says otherwise. So on a national level, it's perfectly legal for a business to go card only or digital only unless a state says differently. Now, what do the states say? Some states have stepped in. For example, New Jersey has a law requiring most retailers to accept cash. Supporters of these laws argue that cashless businesses unfairly impact lower income Americans who are less likely to have a credit card or digital wallet, or in some cases, again, even have a checking account. A 2022 Pew Research Center study shows that 3 in 10 Americans with household incomes under $30,000 said they use cash for all or most of their purchases. By contrast, higher income households are much more likely to pay digitally. So for many people, cash isn't just a preference, it's a necessity. It's their only option. And for a lot of people, they want to pay cash because they simply just, in their mind, they don't want the government knowing what they're buying, what they're spending their money on. And, of course, there's always a digital footprint when you use a credit card or you write a check. So what about South Carolina? Well, right now, South Carolina has no state law that requires businesses to accept cash. You can do what you want to. If you're a business owner, you can decide whether you accept cash or not. No one's going to tell you have to, except your customers. I mean, you could potentially lose some businesses or lose some business from people who want to deal with cash. Back in 2023, though, there was legislation introduced, House Bill 3694, which would have made it mandatory for retailers to accept cash, but the bill stalled in committee, and it hasn't moved forward since. That means for now, businesses are still free to go cashless if they choose to do so. Technically, and the question as far as counties or cities, could they have their own rules? I guess they could. Counties in South Carolina could adopt local ordinances requiring cash acceptance, but so far as I could tell, none have done so. And no major city in South Carolina has made cash acceptance mandatory either, at least publicly. Now, the market, again, could decide on its own. While some worry about access and fairness, others argue that businesses should be free to choose and let the market sort it out. The state newspaper had a report and quoted Jimmy Gray, who is president of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, where Gray said, if they're only accepting credit cards and start to lose business, something tells me they'll change it up and accept both. You know, the thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, though, with businesses not accepting cash is credit cards cost them money. They have to pay the credit card fees. With cash, you don't. So why would a business not encourage cash rather than credit cards and or checks? Checks, you got to have a whole nother problem. Checks, you have the risk that it's a bad check, that it doesn't clear the bank. So it just doesn't make sense to me why a business would choose not to allow their customers to pay with cash. Maybe you're a business owner and you can help explain this to me. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com, because I really would like to understand the thinking of a business who decides that they will not take cash. And does it make a difference when your customers complain and say, hey, look, I want to pay with cash? I mean, if customers walk away because they can't use cash, that business may rethink the policy. So bottom line here is, and this was an interesting question for me. I never had thought about it till my mom, called me and said, I just tried to pay with cash and the business wouldn't take cash. Federal law doesn't require businesses to accept cash. State law potentially could, but in South Carolina, it doesn't. Some states, it does. Local governments, in theory, could pass ordinances, but none have that I could find. So if you're paying with cash in South Carolina, I think most places still take it, but they're not legally obligated to, and that could change depending on whether or not the legislature next session decides to take this up and consider it. What do you think? Should there be a South Carolina statute that requires businesses to accept your cash? Is that a right? Is it your right to have that option to pay with cash? Or can a business make that decision for you? And what do you think about the idea that, okay, well, a business chooses not to accept cash. You can choose not to do business with that business. But some would argue, well, in some cases, it may be a convenience thing. Maybe you have to do business with the closest grocery store. They decide not to accept cash, and you'd have to drive across town to get to a grocery store that does accept cash. It's an interesting question, and one that I really hadn't thought much about until this incident with Nana Hudson. Love to hear your comments. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com, as to whether or not you pay with cash, you prefer to use cash, and is it your right to use your cash with a business that maybe frowns on using cash? They'd prefer you to swipe your credit card or use your Apple Pay. Hulk Hogan was one of the most legendary and recognizable figures in professional wrestling history, and died at age 71 yesterday, evidently of a heart attack. Hogan, whose real name was Terry Boley, reportedly suffered a cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida, early yesterday morning. First responders from Clearwater Fire and Rescue and Clearwater Police arrived at his residence, we're told, at just before 10 a.m. He was transported to Morton Plant Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at the time. TMZ Sports first reported the news, which was later confirmed by the WWE and Hogan's family via social media. The post that read, WWE is saddened to learn Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan has passed away. The company said in a statement, one of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans. Then a statement from Hogan's Instagram reflected the family's grief, saying, "It is with heavy heart and deep sadness that we confirm we have lost a legend. Our beloved Terry, known worldwide as Hulk Hogan, passed away today, surrounded by his loved ones." You can't deny the effect that Hogan had on professional wrestling. I wasn't even a wrestling fan, but of course knew who Hulk Hogan was. His trademark handlebar mustache, his red and yellow gear, his bombastic charisma. Hogan turned wrestling into a pretty mainstream phenomenon during the 80s and 90s. His Hulkamania persona became a household brand, and his matches were centerpieces of wrestling's most iconic moments. Again, I wasn't a big wrestling fan, but I loved to see what Hulk Hogan was going to come up with next. He originally debuted in championship wrestling in Florida in the late 70s. Hogan joined the World Wrestling Federation, now the WWE, in 1979. I was in high school then. But it was his return in the 80s under Vince McMahon's leadership that sparked his superstardom. That was when he started to rise and become a household name. He famously rescued Bob Backlund from an attack by the Wild Samoans. Hogan was positioned as the company's top babyface, according to the WWE. His message was simple but powerful: train, say your prayers, and eat your vitamins. He was a man of faith and did believe in the power of prayer. His popularity soared with headline matches at WrestleMania events. Probably his most famous was at WrestleMania 3, when he slammed Andre the Giant, then billed as the Undefeated, in front of 93,000 fans in what became known as the Body Slam heard around the world. The moment remains etched in wrestling history. Hogan went on to feud with major stars like Randy Savage, Ric Flair, Earthquake. You never really knew just how real some of this stuff was. A lot of it was theatrics. That was part of the persona. That was part of the game. His success outside of the ring, though, grew as well during this period of time. He had movies. He had endorsements. He had national media appearances. In 1996, Hogan stunned the wrestling world again at the WCW's Bash at the Beach by turning heel and aligning with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to form what was known as the New World Order. Again, it reignited his career again. He's kind of like Dolly Parton. He kept reinventing himself, just like Dolly Parton has remained relevant for all of these years. So, outside of wrestling, he was a polarizing figure even then. He was recently involved in a new venture called the Real American Freestyle, aimed at launching a new wrestling league. He was also politically active in recent years. You probably remember seeing him, and I sat there in the audience when he took over the Republican National Convention stage and just put on a show. He loved Donald Trump. He was very defensive of Donald Trump. He wanted Donald Trump to be back in the White House. And look, let's be honest, he probably played a role in the 2024 election win, because Hulk Hogan had a lot of fans, and he wasn't shy in asking those fans to support his friend, Donald Trump. We're going to remember Hogan's larger than life personality and how it changed the wrestling sports industry forever. A 6-time WWE champion, a 6-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and a 1-time IWGP champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He transcended wrestling and became, again, one of the few figures from the sport to achieve mainstream cultural status. Look, Hulk Hogan may be gone, but the roar of Hulkamania will be remembered and echoed for many generations to come. God bless him. God rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. Some drama and interesting story out of Algeria, where a Mediterranean town mayor is at the center of controversy after he tried to enforce modesty standards by banning men from wearing Bermuda shorts in public. The mayor of Chitaba is a coastal village west of Annaba in Algeria, issued a local decree barring men from walking around in what he described as indecent clothing, namely the mid-thigh length shorts favored by many tourists. His justification? The local population was tired of seeing foreigners stroll through town in attire they considered inappropriate. Boy, I'd hate for him to show up at a beach or even a swimming pool or a town over here, right? And see men in their Speedos. that would push him over the edge. Now, this decree quickly moved the mayor into the spotlight and drew criticism from both within the region and across social media, with many accusing the mayor of trying to impose overly strict or religiously motivated dress codes in a tourism-driven area. Officials in the nearby city of Annaba called for the order to be rescinded, arguing it conflicted with the welcoming atmosphere Algeria is trying to build for international visitors. It's not laying out the welcome mat for sure. If you're trying to become or to build your tourist industry and you're telling men that they can't wear Bermuda shorts in the summer at a coastal town, I don't think you're going to get a lot of tourists coming. Just 2 days after the public debate, the mayor reversed the decision, saying his original intent was simply to preserve peace and tranquility for both locals and visitors, and that he had not acted under pressure from religious groups. This short-lived ban, of course, reignited, though, a much broader discussion within Algeria about the balance between tradition and modern customs, especially in public spaces where locals and tourists from different cultural backgrounds intersect. Islam is Algeria's official state religion, with approximately 99% of the population identifying as Sunni Muslims, according to the CIA World Factbook. Islamic principles of modesty, particularly the concept of aura, referring to body parts that should be covered to preserve dignity, are deeply ingrained in the cultural fabric. Just a heads up, if you're planning to go to Algeria and wear your shorts, you might want to reconsider. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Joining me on our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evatt. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. I'm heading out to Charleston today with the SC7. I'm going to hook up with Director Tom Mulliken of DNR. We're going to hike across the Ravenel Bridge today.
And they're getting pretty close to the end of the hike, right?
They are. I'm going to be with them today, and then I'll be with them in Edisto on Monday, and then that's kind of where I leave them. But the SC7 goes from the mountains to the sea, started out in your beautiful Oconee County, and will end up in Charleston on the very last day of July.
Yep. I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Mulliken last week for my weekend show, Word on the Street. And by the way, if you didn't have a chance to listen to that, you can go back and listen on the Odyssey app. But just a great guy and so interesting, all the things that they do in that month-long that hike. I mean, they canoe, they do everything you can imagine. Even they clean up some things. I saw where they were spent a day cleaning up the Broad River, and I told him during the interview, I said, I'm sure Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett was very happy that you guys were picking up trash.
Oh, I have picked up trash with them in past years. Unfortunately, I couldn't have been on that one. But, when I talked to you last week, I was in Lake Tahoe with the National Lieutenant Governors Association. And David and I, we had like a couple hours of free time after my meetings ended and before dinner. And we hiked this mountain to get to a waterfall. Everybody was talking about, oh, there's this beautiful waterfall. So we hiked up. It was an elevation of 7,000 feet. I really thought I was going to die.
Wow, yeah.
And I think I'm in pretty good shape. But when I got to this waterfall, I was so disappointed. And it's something that, I've learned from hiking with the SC7 and kind of hiking in our beautiful area of the state. I mean, our waterfalls in Oconee County are beautiful.
Yep.
And this was like a dribble of water down some rocks. And I had exhausted ourselves, and we got to it, and I was like, what a letdown.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what we keep talking about here is this ecotourism. And how if you want to see a beautiful waterfall, you don't need to travel across the country. You don't need to go to Hawaii. You just go on up to Oconee County and see the beauty we have to offer in South Carolina.
And it's just so easy for us to take for granted what we actually have here in South Carolina. But you're right. We have some beautiful waterfalls in Oconee, even northern Greenville County, up around Caesar's Head and that area. And so, you're right. We have a lot to see here. And look, I told Dr. Mulliken, next year, I want to be part of the SC7. It just sounds so great. There's so many things in our state that, again, we take for granted, and it's time to get out there. And there's things that rivers and areas of, particularly in the Midlands and going into the Low Country, that I've never been to. And it's time for me to see those.
We'll do it together, Joey.
All right,
we'll tag
that's a
team
plan.
on a couple of those days.
Yes,
that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So Fox Carolina reported this week that ICE arrests in South Carolina have more than tripled during the first 6 months of the Trump administration. Fox also confirms that these arrests are of people who are already facing charges or in some cases currently in jail. According to the report, before President Trump, there was an average of 100 arrests. In March, which is the latest month they have the data, there were 345. That's a pretty big number. Talk with us about how South Carolina is cooperating with ICE.
Well, Joey, that is something I'm really proud of. I've talked with Chief Keel about this because when President Trump took office and the deportation started and ICE started ramping up again, I had called Chief Keel and I said, Chief, tell me how we in South Carolina are going to help ICE agents, federal ICE agents. And he said, Lieutenant Governor, we have always been here to help them. And there is not one thing we won't do side by side with them. He said, but during the Biden administration, they were so handcuffed that, we were standing ready, and we will continue to stand ready. And so I'm proud to say that we don't have any sanctuary cities. When I announced my run for governor a week ago now, I talked about that in my speech, that one of my goals was to always work with our federal ICE agents to make sure that there is not 1 square inch of South Carolina where illegals could come and evade our laws and wreak havoc in our cities. We're not, or any community, we're not going to allow that here. And so I'm very proud. You know, we saw a really big bust in Charleston probably about a month ago, where this was, a collaboration between SLED, the local sheriff's office, ICE, and the FBI. And Joey, they had 80 warrants. They arrested people from 2 different cartels, an international fugitive, and they rescued people that were caught up in this human trafficking ring. We've seen it up in Pickens County. We've seen it in Union County. And it's just like President Trump said, we are going to get rid of the bad actors in this country, and he's not going to stop. And I think he is just once again living up to the promises he made to the American people. And it was a mandate, right? Like the people came back and they elected him overwhelmingly. All swing states went to him because U.S. citizens are tired of this. And they want to see it taken care of. South Carolinians want to see it taken care of. And President Trump is once again fulfilling on one of his promises to us.
Yeah, for sure. And when Donald Trump says he's going to do something, he does it. It's just
he can move a mountain for sure.
Yeah, it's just that simple. And I liked the idea too. And I'm glad that Fox confirmed that the people that are involved in this particular operation, they are people who have already, not only did they break the law by coming into our country illegally, but they have broken other laws. And, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that, well, the Trump administration, they're just grabbing innocent people off the street. Well, no, according to Fox confirmed that these people have already broken multiple laws. And in some cases, they're in jail and they're just picking up from jail and deporting them.
And Joey, we just saw, what was it reported last week, that there was a family claim that their mother had gotten snatched up and kidnapped by ICE. And here she was living her best life somewhere else, and they ended up finding her and then deporting her. Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a lot of people, Democrats, people who don't believe what we do. It's hard to understand, but they are making up stories. Yeah. And that's why we have got to be so careful of what we believe to be fact, right? Yep. Like, do some research. Not everything you read. I know you're going to be shocked by this statement, Joey, but not everything you read is the truth. Yep, that's for sure. That is for sure. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks so much, my friend. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.